My name is Dr. Leahcim Semaj. I operate the Semaj MindSpa. You know, we combine those two words for a specific reason. Mind is the ultimate frontier, the source of consciousness. How we do, how we know what we know. Spa does two specific things. One, spa helps to remove toxins. But spa also energizes, revitalizes, make clean, make new. So we try to combine these two words, and we create a space where mind, spirit, and science meet. We try to demystify things. We try to build mental strength and fortitude and resilience. We are in many ways, troubled times. But if I can see, can I be part of the solution? There's a wonderful phrase going back to Eldridge Cleaver. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Today, we are anticipating the presence of Melissa. And there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. But what I find interesting is that a lot of people are using social media to see how they can amplify the fear, increase the anxiety, to make more people afraid. And it's just incredible when you watch the thumbnails of some of the YouTube videos being presented. If one didn't know of the potential problems, we're seeing all these things about worst case scenario. Important things are to make sure that persons know what are the things that they can do and should do to facilitate their own personal safety and those around them. I published a piece a couple of weeks ago, where I point out that I don't usually use the term, natural disaster. I refer to natural phenomenon. It is what we do before, during, and after that turns it into a disaster. What we do. I mean, we collectively, we individually, we as a people. For example, we know the rules about where we should and should not build. We know the power of nature. We know the power of wind, the power of water, but somehow we get carried away. And many times we do things that are not in our own best interest. So then disasters arise. Now there are also situations whereby you could actually not know at all. But then nature can be very unforgiving. But then I'm taking another slight different tack today. What can I do to introduce something into the mix that can be a significant part of the solution? Can't impact the wind, can't impact the water, but we can impact what we do individually and collectively. And you know that every cell of your body is constantly eavesdropping on your thoughts and on your feeling. So there are things that you can do to make your situation worse. There are things that you can do to make your situation better. So I want to share with you a reasoning. And the title of this reason is Mind Over Storm. The psychology of calm in crisis. The psychology of calm in crisis. So the idea is how to stay mentally strong in a time of uncertainty. We can use the storm as a literal. We can also use the storm figuratively as the other challenges that we face. We probably have both at this time. All right? So we want to work with this, and let's see if we can do this every day at this time over the next couple of days. Circumstances permitting, technology permitting, weather permitting. So if we can inject something into the mix So what we're talking about here today, as I say, is how to stay mentally strong in times of uncertainty. There are storms that shake our roofs, and there are storms that shake our soul. One may be caused by nature, the other by life's uncertainty. Yet, both can leave us feeling exposed, anxious, and afraid. The difference lies not only in the strength of the wind, but the strength of our minds. All right? We have no control over what the wind does, but our mind, yeah, we have options. Now, why this thing called fear, it spreads faster than the storm? Do you know that? Emotions are more contagious than any virus. And the kind of things that people do to spread the contagion among others and to scare others, I have a problem with that. Long before the hurricane arrives, fear begins to circulate. It circulates through rumors, headlines, and anxious conversations. Fear is contagious because the human brain is wired for survival. It constantly scans for threats. In a crisis, we tune into every warning, every whisper, every sign of danger. But fear, however, when left unchecked, becomes its own kind of storm, one that blows through our peace of mind. The key is to stay informed, folks, not inflamed. Limit the time you spend consuming alarming news. Seek facts from trusted sources, not frantic social media feeds. Calm is also contagious. Calm is also contagious. So I am trying to put something else into the mix. Now, there are some techniques that we can do to reduce anxiety. Certainly there's a lot of things happening now that induce even more anxiety. For example, when uncertainty rises, so must our inner stability. Now, I want you to try these simple grounding rituals. 1. Breathe deeply. Inhale for 4 seconds. Hold for 2. Slowly exhale for 6. Try that a couple of times. What that does, it helps to connect mind and body. In the coming days, I'll give you some more information about this, the power of just breathing. You know, the breath of life, huh? Life starts when you take your first breath. It ends with the last. So how you manipulate breathing helps to calm you. The second option is to focus on your senses. Notice 5 things that you can see now. Just get your senses. What are 5 things you can see? Just count them off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sense is good. How about 4 things you can touch? Because you're confirming your presence. 4 things you can touch. How about 3 things you can hear? Well, 1 is my voice. Beyond my voice? 2 others? Great. How about 2 things you can smell? How about 1 thing you can taste? Maybe what you just ate. The taste is on your tongue. So you focus on your senses. You know that, yes, they're working. Number 3, you affirm your safety. Say to yourself, I am here, I am safe, I am prepared. I am here. I am safe. I am prepared. If even now you are indeed. If you have doubts, then you do something about it now, not in the middle of the storm. If you have doubts, is there a friend you can go to? Is there a space reserved for such you can go to? No wahala. Give thanks, my brother. Your breath and awareness bring you back from the storm in your head to the calm in the present moment. Your breath and your awareness brings you back from the storm in your head to the calm in the present moment. So you can do this anytime. The breathing in, hold, out slowly. The focus on your senses. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 brings you back from the storm in your head. It's important that you speak to children about what is happening. And also the elderly, persons who are not necessarily in direct control of the circumstances around them. Children look to adults, not only for protection, but for emotional cues. If they see you expressing fear, yeah, that gets to them. Do they see fear in your eyes? They will borrow it. Speak honestly to them, but speak gentle. Let them participate in the preparation. Gather the flashlight. Where are the candles? Fill in water bottles. Let them feel part of the solution. The elderly loved ones may relive past storms, both physically and emotionally. Listen to their memories. It helps transform fear into wisdom because they can share with you how they handled things in the past. A calm conversation is more powerful than any shelter. They say young blood don't know storm, but the wisdom of the elders can help us. Now, what about the psychology of preparation versus panic? There's so many things around that is trying to induce panic. Preparation brings order to chaos. Panic multiplies it. When we prepare, we act from the rational part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, where logic and planning lives. When we panic, we hand control to the amygdala, or alarm system, which shouts danger, 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 even where there is none. The act of preparation, checking supplies, reviewing plans, securing your home, translate anxiety into action. Each completed task is an anchor in the storm. What about your faith, your mindset, and the power of stillness in chaos? Guess what I know for sure? Every storm eventually passes. And you know, I saw a post yesterday that directly spoke to me. It reminded us that there's 37 years between Hurricane Charlie and Hurricane Gilbert, and 37 years between Hurricane Gilbert and Hurricane Melissa. I have a story that ties all three together, and I will, in a couple of days, I will give you the details of this. I was born during Hurricane Charlie. Hurricane Gilbert transformed the lives of my 3 daughters, because when I lost the roof and we had no electricity for 1 year, and it took months before we could get supplies to rebuild the house, for 1 month we had no water, and made a decision to send them back to New York. The result was incredible. I'll give you the details of how that 37 and 37 functioned in my life. Every storm eventually passes, and we tell the story. What matters is who we become while we wait. Faith, whether spiritual, philosophical, or grounded in human resilience, reminds us that there is a larger order at work. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means trusting that you have done enough and allowing peace to take root amid uncertainty. I did my part. My family room is totally surrounded by glass. I have boards that I've cut to the specific size of the massive glass windows, and yesterday we put them up. It's almost a ritual part of the process. I checked my generator. Boom, one click, it came on. I made sure it's filled with petrol, and plus I have 2 bottles, large containers on standby. My water tanks are filled. Food for a couple of weeks in case that roads are blocked. The vehicles are filled with petrol. Again, the things that we have control over. I checked around the house to make sure that no winds, any furniture on the outside that could become missiles, I either bring them in or put them in a position so that they can't be a damage to anyone. So these are things that we have control over. But we'll make sure that, as we say, every storm eventually passes. When the winds howl outside, that's time we need to find our inner center, to sit in silence, breathe, listen, not to the news, but to your soul. The hurricane may rage, but your mind can remain an island of calm. The hurricane is outside. So, what are the hurricanes currently blowing through your mind? The fear, the doubt, the loss, the change? Write down 3 things you can control and 3 things you must release. Then choose stillness as your shelter. My brother, Wahala, thanks for your words. So my biggest hope is that we all start planning for resilience. JPS strengthened the grid by burying them. Good decision. Post-burial, they were mealy-mouthed about it, giving 1,000 reasons why they couldn't. So that if you have things on the outside of the house, again, that you have control over. Listen, folks, don't underestimate the power of what is indeed possible. Don't underestimate. Having lived, first of all, as I said, I was born in the middle of a hurricane, and I lived through a number of them, especially one thing I experienced in Gilbert. There was an apple tree that I planted, and after the hurricane, the tree wasn't there anymore. But guess what I did? I planted another one in the same place, and since then we've been eating from it on a regular basis. Right? When you watch the awesome power of what a hurricane can do. So, as I said, you have done what you can. If you have doubts about the safety of where you are located, now is the time to do something about it. They are safe spaces prepared by the state. That's an option. If there's a relative or a friend that has a circumstance which is more sound than yours, now is the time. But the preparation of the mind, for the stillness of the mind, when the storm pass. This too shall pass. One of the most important thing, I go to the website, the 2 websites that I use. One gives me the direct location and duration and direction of the possibility of the hurricane, and they upgrade every couple of hours, so I have that. There's another one that I'm able to see what the wind pattern is, what the direction is. So I get my information firsthand. I don't need the narrative and all the sound effects that people want to add to try to disturb my stillness, disturb my calm. So I close with the question, what are the hurricanes currently blowing through your mind? The fear, the doubt, the loss, the change. Write down 3 things that you can control and 3 things that you must release. Then choose stillness as your shelter. circumstances allowing, meaning technology, broadband, etc., etc., I will, in the coming days, at this time, 11 o'clock Jamaica time, I will do a live so as to share more thoughts on resilience, on the power of faith, on the strength of mind, in terms of how we can do our best to work through these times. So until we meet again, stay strong, call a friend or relative, make sure that they're okay. And if you have doubts about your circumstance, now's the time to relocate. If they have doubts about their circumstance, invite them over. Till we meet again, stay strong.